Yeah, so Empreinte is a philanthropic advisory consulting firm that was founded in 2018. And our primary work is partnering with nonprofit organizations to provide them guidance to enhance their operations, strategy, and fundraising for the organization. So we have a team of 17 consultants that bring an array of expertise that help nonprofits function more efficiently, implement best practice processes and procedures, and maximize the potential for philanthropic revenue to support their mission. What makes us unique is that we also provide philanthropic advisory services. We work with private foundations, corporations, and philanthropists to help increase the impact of their giving through their philanthropy.
Do you have a follow-up? Or did you have a
Oh,
follow-up?
no.
Oh, okay. So can you give us some examples of for instance what type of services you kind of described what it is these services do, but for instance, how do you guys particularly engage with a nonprofit? Let's say a nonprofit was looking for someone, what would they be finding with you, I guess?
Yeah, so we offer an array of services, anything from interim leadership to campaign management to grant writing, to assessments, to feasibility studies and database management. So anything that you would really find in an outsourced development office or with a development team, our team of consultants and ourselves can implement all aspects or very specific aspects of that as needed with our nonprofit clients.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
very
typically
versatile.
nonprofits come to us with a very specific need. So they want to create an annual appeal to identify unrestricted funding for their organization. We would help with that. They want to create a campaign to raise significant dollars for capital projects or programs. They've lost their leader of development and they need us to step in and provide some interim guidance. So it can come in a lot of different forms. And as Carrie said, really trying to align their needs with our services to maximize their efficiencies.
Now this is an incredibly niche field that I don't know how many people have heard of. How did you guys find yourselves in here?
So Carrie and I have worked together for over a decade now. We both worked at the University of Rochester Medical Center in leadership fundraising positions with Golisano Children's Hospital, Wilmot Cancer Institute, and the Del Monte Neuromedicine Institute. And that was in the middle of their $1.37 billion fundraising campaign. So it was an opportunity for us to really learn best practice fundraising and strategy. We were then recruited to Rochester Regional Health to help the health system, the newly formed merged health system, develop a $300 million comprehensive campaign. And so we came in and took a team from 13 professionals to 36 professionals and built the infrastructure to create a successful campaign and build some buildings in the health system and enhance some programs. And really saw a need in the community. There were so many nonprofit organizations that didn't have anywhere near the resources that those two large health systems had. And so we thought if we could translate what we had learned and the experience we had gained and apply that to organizations that didn't have the resources and infrastructure, then the water rises for our community. Because there's so many important nonprofit organizations that are doing really good work. They just can't really get over the hurdle for one reason or another. So founded in 2018 and really have grown dramatically because of the need across the nonprofit landscape. We're based here in upstate New York in Rochester, and we have an office in Naples, Florida as well. From the growth and expansion, we had a client who brought us to Florida and introduced us to organizations. And so we've really taken our decade plus experience in healthcare and brought that best practice expertise to organizations in need.
Do you see this as being a large need across all of the continental U.S. as well?
Yeah, I mean, I really think the landscape of fundraising and kind of the nonprofit world right now we're seeing a lot of need for these specific services that we offer. I also think COVID had a really interesting impact on our business from a growth standpoint, and really taking the idea that you can outsource different functionalities within a development office, within a fundraising office. But you can also, obviously have internal resources to implement some of the work and the activity as well. So I think, the perfect storm of that really also kind of projected our business forward in people getting more comfortable with what we like to call disruptive development. So looking at fundraising a little bit differently and maximizing efficiencies, but also how do you utilize more resources than just what you have internally.
Yeah, that is a national need. I mean, again, we're growing in Southwest Florida. We're already looking at expansion up at the Gulf Coast to Tampa. We've worked with clients in California, Washington, D.C., New York City. And so this is a model that certainly is expandable, and one that really we could focus on almost any market in the country and probably find opportunities.
Well, you certainly have the years of expertise and leadership. Have you had experience running a business before?
So I have. I was an executive recruiter for 15 years before I got into fundraising at the university, and I started an executive recruiting firm by the name of Tax Integrity in 2007. And so that grew. We were working with Fortune 500 clients, placing VP level tax professionals. And I took that business and grew it to a point where, unfortunately, because of the recession in 2009, the hiring changed and transition had to occur. So I sold that business for pennies on the dollar and then got into fundraising. So this was my second business, and I now have since started a third business. So definitely well versed in the entrepreneurial world and the creation and management of businesses.
Hey, Carrie, do you have any experience with it?
I have never owned my own business, no, but I will say that experience in relationship development is pretty universal. in maintaining, creating relationships, I would say across my professional career, even outside of development, I was in luxury sales and buying for a long time. Met a lot of, I was born and raised here in our community, but, really developed very different relationships with people through my different careers before fundraising. And, that's really what kind of propelled me into this profession, is really relationship management and aligning people with impact at the end of the day.
Would you say that's your favorite part of the job, or is there something else that stands out more?
What's today, Wednesday?
Yeah.
This moment?
I think it depends on the day. I do enjoy, solving problems and finding solutions. I enjoy the aspect of working with people to move along greater impact and have collective impact. And, speaking from experience, we were on the front line of fundraising for, large campaigns. And I think at the time, Mark and I were lucky that we could have each other to kind of bounce ideas off of and strategize and work together. But a lot of organizations don't have that. So I think, a big piece that I feel is very rewarding is being able to work with, staff or fundraisers to really teach them and mentor them how to do that in a way that is personal to them, and also moving their mission of the nonprofit forward and aligning that with philanthropists in the community. It's a pretty cool synergy to be a part of.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, seeing the collective impact of our team's work, we're very fortunate to be surrounded by exceptional experts in the field. Our team of, the 15 other consultants on our team are some of the best in what they've done in fundraising, and supporting them, seeing them, have the impact on our clients. we just had our first public launch of a comprehensive campaign with a client, and seeing the culmination of our work for the last 2 years to get to that point. Our mission statement at Empreinte is helping those who help others. And when we see those we're helping have success, which ultimately impacts the community at large, I mean, that's the reward for us.
So I think you got
Oh,
something.
yeah. So you started talking about the sort of activities your company and your associates try to do to help other organizations. Can you talk about some of your, personally, some of your most favorite stories or things that you've accomplished? You just described launching a full comprehensive campaign for the first time. Are there any other stories that you'd like to talk about or highlight?
Yeah, really. I mean, there's a number of stories. Maybe I'll share one or two. You can share one as well. Really seeing the progress that the professionals we work with within our clients and our clients at large make is really the most rewarding. We often, it's counterintuitive, but we often say, if clients don't need us anymore, they've succeeded. That we've really moved forward. And one organization that we worked with, I functioned as the interim chief advancement officer. They were going through some transition, and really helped rethink, restructure the way they went about their fundraising. And as an outcome of that, they ultimately hired a full-time chief advancement officer, and they're working much more efficiently. They're using a lot of the processes that our team implemented, and raising more money because of that. And so those are the examples that really stick with me. The people that we've worked with. There's one client that we work with. The vice president of fundraising has been with this organization for 16 years. And she told us that she's learned more in the last year than she did throughout the rest of her career. So stories like that are really very rewarding and fulfilling, that we're making a difference, that we're helping our clients work more efficiently and more effectively, and they're seeing the benefit to ultimately help the people who receive the services that their organization provides.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I mean, I think it's really rewarding when you work with, professionals that are a little bit earlier in their career, because not many people go to school for fundraising. So the ability to be able to work alongside with them and mentor them and, teach them best practices, but see them actually carry that out and have successful outcomes for me is one of the most rewarding pieces of what we do and each client that we serve. I think too, a trend that we're seeing is not only in nonprofit or in fundraising, but we were just having this conversation today, across the landscape of professional services and fundraising is, the turnover in jobs and the job market and the talent in the workforce. And we're seeing that, there is a shortage of what we do right now in fundraising and development. And, really being able to be a part of, rebuilding that workforce, training that workforce in a way that not only is meaningful, but again, is best practices. There's definitely the right way and the wrong way to do things. And we were really lucky that the University of Rochester invested in so much training for us when we were at the University of Rochester building the Misiurewicz campaign. And it's just nice to be able to kind of pay that forward and teach others what we've learned. I think that's one. Two, aside from the fundraising aspect of it, we get involved a lot too with strategic planning. And so, strategic planning and development planning really should go hand in hand. And so a lot of the times when we're working with an organization, they're asking us to help them create a fundraising plan, a plan to how to raise money. But we find that they're really needing strategic guidance at a larger level. So helping them identify, what do you need money for? What are your funding priorities? What are the programs that you either want to create, enhance, or expand? And really working through some of those problems and finding solutions for them. there's been some pretty cool programs that have been developed or enhanced because of our work, but also sustained. I mean, knowing that these programs are being able to be sustained, you know, we don't directly fundraise, we don't directly ask for money anymore, but we do help guide how do you do that, and how do you receive funding that's sustainable, that's going to, you know, create an impact for an organization. And that's great for both the organization and the philanthropists. So we kind of see it on both ends, which that piece I think is really neat.
Absolutely.
So it seems like a lot of these, sorry, Steve, just before I lose it. So it seems like you guys have identified that there's this, that a lot of fundraisers don't seem to even quite have the complete education they need to be doing what they're doing. I don't mean to sound condescending if I do. But earlier you guys did mention that there seems to be this gap in your field in terms of the amount of people doing it. Is that, what do you guys attribute that to? Is it because this is a relatively new field, or do you think that it's because you're kind of, your competition has kind of just disappeared over time?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of factors. No, I mean, number one, you know, there isn't an educational program other than Indiana University that really teaches philanthropy. And so, you know, this is something that it's much more altruistic, and kids coming out of school, high school, going into college aren't thinking, I want a career in nonprofit. So you look at, you know, Carrie came out of luxury sales. I came out of executive. There were people who came out of pharmaceutical sales and business and all different backgrounds. And so people, you have to have certain innate qualities to be drawn to the nonprofit industry. And I don't know that that's as prevalent as other industries that might allow you to make more money, or, you know, be more focused on engineering or IT or whatever the interest might be. So I think that's one factor. The other factor is that while it's very rewarding work, it's very hard work. The reason that nonprofits were created in the United States was because they were addressing needs. The needs are homelessness, you know, food security, abuse, healthcare. There's all these different needs, and some of the missions are somewhat heavy. And I think people who are more driven by their head than their heart may not choose this as a profession. Those who are driven by their heart might find that this is the way they can best help others in their community. And we can't underestimate the fact that this is not a high-paying profession. You're not going to be a corporate CEO making millions of dollars working in nonprofits. So there's a lot of factors that really preclude people from getting into the industry.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit off that. When you talk about leading with your heart over leading with your head, to give some extra context for those who don't know, we initially met with you guys because you were reaching out to a company that we used to work for called Boundless Connections and Strength Solutions. Strength Solutions being a small nonprofit that was looking to get out there. And your names came up repeatedly because you were so willing and able to help communicate and facilitate that growth, that communal growth, the ability for people to talk with each other openly and to get to know each other. And I know you've definitely carried that on through working with Bob Fornes of Olean Business Development Center. And I think there is a great value in pointing that out and saying, even though you guys work with nonprofits and you do have to try to make money from that, you are very willing and open to helping people out. And I think that's very admirable. And back to when we first met, well, of course we met through Boundless, but the time we met after that was my first time ever going to try and to pitch to an organization significantly bigger than the usual mom and pop stand. And you very politely, very tactfully said that I needed a lot of improvement and gave me all of those pointers.
Oh, Mark,
Constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism. And I think I've said so before, but I think it warrants a retelling. That fundamentally changed my business from being that small, out of my basement, as we ironically operate from a basement, out of my garage. How about that? Out of my garage store that was just, I work with some people on the side to, this is now an enterprise that I'm trying to run. This has a team of upwards of 16 people now, and I don't think I could have gotten to that step nearly as quickly had I not had the opportunity to meet with you first and to get those valuable insights from you first. And that is something that I can never fully thank or repay. And I think that is vital context to talk about when talking about Empreinte Consulting and how valuable they are to the community, even if it isn't their direct services, but who you are as individuals and what you represent.
Well, we sincerely appreciate that, Brian, and I'm going to clip that part of this interview and keep that as our marketing now. That's
Right?
probably the nicest thing that anybody's ever said about us in doing that. But you know, truth be told, it's, you know, we want to help. I mean, we are of the mindset that if there's anything we can do to help another human being to be better at what they do, to help other people, then we should do that. And so, you know, I can't count the number of pro bono conversations we have to, you know, just help people through their careers. This morning I had coffee with someone in one of our clients who was just asking about kind of their job and their career progression. We enjoy doing that because good people should support good people. And if more of that happened in our world, just imagine what the world would look like, and how efficient we would be. So
You might be out of a job at that point because we don't need
no, but,
nonprofits
no, that's
anymore.
okay because I'd find something else to do. Maybe my golf game would get better.
That's the spirit.
But yeah, it's, you know, again, you know, ultimately what we want to do is create a foundation, an Empreinte foundation that allows us to not even have to charge for the services that we provide. I'd love to be able to do this for free and still be able to take care of the expenses that we have in our lives. And hopefully we'll get to that point. But seeing the progress you all are making, seeing what Mike and Christina did in growing Balanced Connections, Strength Solutions, seeing how we can help other organizations, that's the reward for us.
I had a question about, so it seems like a lot of what you guys do is kind of like, okay, here's a nonprofit. What do you guys need in order to really get the ball moving here? Kind of help fill in some of the gaps, get them sorted, get them on their way. So what does a nonprofit need kind of to start that process? If I was, you know, going to start a new nonprofit in the area and I was to come to you guys, what would be like, what do I need to approach you to have a serious conversation about how do we get started really growing this thing?
That's a great question, Steve. And we're actually working with some startup 501c3s currently. Actually meeting with one next week to help them. And, you know, that is really the starting point is having a nonprofit status. So working through the federal government to get your 501c3 status, and then coming to us with a strategic plan. And as Carrie mentioned earlier, a lot of the work we're doing now is more strategic in nature. We haven't necessarily been creating strategic plans for our client organizations. We help use that as a tool to then fulfill their vision and their mission. So, you know, having the actual structure, the 501c3 structure, having a strategic plan, a vision, we really can take it from there. We've worked with organizations that are 150 years old, and we've worked with some that started this year and are looking to build, and we've taken them. We have a great success story of an organization that was founder started. They provide opportunities for individuals with physical disabilities to get involved in adaptive sports. And the founder worked with us back in 2019, and now they're a multi-million-dollar budget with staff and infrastructure. And so he had a vision, he had the legal structure in place, and we helped take them to another level. So that really is the starting point. And then more established organizations that work with us, they have to have a clear vision on the impact that philanthropy can have on their organization and how it can fulfill their mission. Because so many times people say, well, we need to raise more money. And when we ask them for what and why, they can't answer the question. So I think if you can answer those questions, you have a clear vision, we can take you from good to great.
Okay. Fair enough.
Didn't you have a follow-up one?
Yeah, but I'll ask it later.
Oh, I don't know.
Because I might not need to ask it at the end.
Okay,
you're
then
right.
then we'll jump over to me. So now you'll forgive the pivot from what we're just talking about. I am interested in knowing more about you personally, and when I say that, I mean certainly your mission has become very clear about your willingness and desire to help those in the community and to help the community itself to foster that growth and development. And you've been doing this for years. You've been doing this through U of R. You've been doing it through your own private practices beforehand. Now I'm taking a step back before that and asking you guys to be a little introspective and say, well, where did that come from in my life? Where in my life did I learn these lessons that I want to share with the rest of the world?
Yeah, so
I think I'm still learning lessons because I'm not.
Yeah.
So
we're always learning lessons.
we're
with,
learning lessons, but I think just like philanthropy, you go through things in your life, whether they be hardships or things that you see other people experience along the way. And you within a community, you see different organizations providing solutions for that. I can think of multiple examples, when we were with the health system, different parts of the health system that had helped, myself or my family. And if they weren't there, I can't imagine where we would be today. But there's all sorts of applications of how nonprofits have, really served our community and found solutions. So, I think for me, I've always found that very impactful. And now we're kind of on the other end of it, helping those organizations be even stronger and have even larger of an impact through those experiences. And again, we continue to learn lessons and grow and evolve. But I think that's probably what caused us to get into it.
Well,
even.
for me, to go a little bit deeper, I mean, it was without question my mother. So there's Mother Teresa, and then there's my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she is one of the most giving, altruistic people that I've ever met in my life. She volunteers at a very young age. She asked us to participate in volunteering, helping others. My family adopted a Cambodian refugee family when we were young, and she brought them into our house and took care of them like they were her own. And so I saw at a very early age that helping others is very fulfilling, very rewarding. And still see that she's doing that at 80 years old. She volunteers in a number of organizations. And so I've been volunteering since I was very, very young. My father-in-law passed away at a private hospice home. My brother-in-laws and I organized a golf tournament for 10 years where we raised money for that hospice home. And that was even before I got into professional fundraising. So I've just been instilled with a spirit of giving and giving back and helping others around you, almost to the point of feeling guilty if I don't help someone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes from my mom and how she was an example of all the good in humanity and how fulfilling it can be if you just help one person each day and do something good each day. The world's a better place. And to be able to do that then professionally, you couldn't ask for more.
All right. Well, I guess we're gonna be doing our. Are we doing our last questions now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting
So-
close to the time.
So mine's gonna slightly relate to that. Earlier, you guys talked about how you're expanding your operations to Florida and are looking at potentially other national operations. My question is, what made you want to do this here, Rochester and New York? Why this region in particular?
It's
Well,
our community.
Yeah, this is our community. I mean, Carrie and I were born and raised here. And as Carrie said, the life experiences, I mean, we've seen firsthand the need and the impact of this work in the community. And so we're very community focused. I mean, we give back to our community. We're invested in our community, and honestly, Southwest Florida is our second community. Carrie's family has a residence there. We've been going to Florida for years, and so that we're not the type of firm that's just going to go to Chicago or Los Angeles or New York City and say we're here. We have to have that connection because the community impact is really what drives us.
Absolutely. Yeah, the community impact and again, getting back to the relationships. You know, we've developed a lot of relationships over the years in our various careers with people in our community and other communities. I think it's pretty simple. If we can help, we'll try. we'll try to do that. No matter where it is, and if we can truly have an impact, then we'll do that. You know, there has been times where we felt like we couldn't help or couldn't have an impact, and we're also very transparent about that too. So I think, you know, that's a big piece of it.
I think that's very important, honestly. Too many organizations will just kind of string along clients.
We can definitely do this, and that's just not the case.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly,
we've actually, so this is again counterintuitive, but we've talked clients into not working with us anymore. And so we've turned down projects. We have ended contracts.
Wow.
Because, you know, we're not just going to take money from an organization and then just kind of, as you said, string them along. If we don't think we can directly help, or if they're not ready for our help, then we're not just going to engage them to engage them.
That's highly respectable.
Yeah.
Very highly.
I mean, I guess my last question, Mark, you already kind of answered it, so I guess this is more for you, Carrie. Who is somebody who has inspired you in your life? You know, whether that's a family member, a close friend, or, you know, somebody who does the same kind of work, but who's somebody who's inspired you in your life on this path that you find yourself on, trying to give back to others in any way you can?
My family, absolutely. My mom and my aunts were always nurses. And so we would sit around the dinner table, whether I wanted to hear it or not. And I would hear, you know, their story of direct patient care and, you know, serving on the different units and the different floors and how they helped people and, you know, the hard work that they went through and they did. My mom's, almost 70 years old, and she just recently retired as a nurse. She, you know, she was working front lines in COVID and giving people injections through the window, and you have to. I think that at the end of the day, it's to getting back to what Mark said. It's helping people and making a difference. And you know, I never got my medical license or medical career, but you know, there's different ways in which you can help people and help organizations and help programs and services. So I think, you know, that is very deep rooted in, you know, how you grow up, who you're surrounding yourself by, and, you know, what lessons they teach you. We were also, you know, grew up, you know, gratefully, we didn't have to utilize a lot of those services, but I know people who did. And I think that's another point of, you know, gratefulness is you always give back, and you never know when you're going to have to utilize services of that nature. But I think also we want to teach our kids that. Both Mark and I have children, and you know, trying to teach them, you know, those same qualities. I think I'll feel like I did my job if I do that to some extent.
Absolutely. I'll tell you firsthand. My dad was sick for a long time when I was young, and he eventually got some organ transplants. He got better, and he started working at a nonprofit, an independent living center. So, you know, I've been tied into that experience of people who need those services for a large part of my life, and it really fundamentally changed the way that I look at the world. And I mean, there's no better way to see the reality of the world than by looking through the lens of a nonprofit of any kind, whether it's, you know, disability, whether we're talking about, you know, some kind of child advocacy thing. I mean,
Yeah.
There's a great number of people who have a great number of needs, and it's not getting taken care of any other way. So, it's stuff
right.
like this that could make a huge difference in people's lives and get them to a point where they don't need it anymore. That's the goal, right?
That is the goal,
Right.
exactly.
And
Right.
that's so fundamentally what you're all about, is like, yep, once you don't need us anymore, you don't need us, you're gone.
Yeah, we wish that was the case with the nonprofits. I wish that we didn't need services for abused women and children.
Yep.
I wish that we didn't need, a humane society for animals. Perfect timing. I wish we
Cancer
could
research.
cancer research. I wish we didn't need this, but we do. And if that's the case, then enhancing the human experience is what we're focused on.